Oh, crazy hair. Hello, everybody. It was day 2 of training camp today, and I look really tired because I am. It's been a long week already. Um, Hope you all are well. Yes, my shirt says it's always weird when it's backwards. Pie and lattes, not Pilates, but I do both. I do pie and lattes and Pilates. All right. Day 2 of training camp was a little bit longer than the day 1, and got to see a little bit of Ricky Pearsall running with Dustin Perry, kind of just observing, making sure he was fine. It looks like he should be back to practice probably Sunday, maybe Monday. We also saw Brandon Ayuk was out there with the wide receivers, kind of where so the offense watches from one angle and the defense watches along the length of the field. So if this is front to back, the defense watches on the side and then the offense watches at the end. Don't know why it goes that way, but it just is what it is. Maybe Kyle Shanahan can see what's happening better, the lineup, everything. But that's just how it works. It's not on opposite sides of the field. Oddly, they're kind of angled. So, got to see Brandon Ayuk. He was kind of running around. He had a hoodie on. He did have a protective sleeve on his right leg. So the right knee is the one that got injured. And he was kind of jogging around, throwing the ball. He and Ricky Pearsall were kind of playing catch a little bit. So kind of fun to see them out there. Everybody was accounted for, all players except for Jacob Cowing. So the hamstring pull could keep him out for a little while. No indication on how long it will be yet. So we'll see how that goes. But interestingly, I dropped a couple of videos of what happened at practice yesterday, and there's a series where Demarcus Robinson runs a route, catches a pass. Then it's Juwan Jennings runs a route, catches a pass. And right then, Jacob Cowing kind of jogs across the screen. And I think that's when he removed himself from practice with a hamstring pull. We don't know the grade of the tear. We don't know anything yet. I'm sure he had an MRI today, but obviously I'll keep you updated. But after that, then it was Jordan Watkins, and he ran a route, caught a pass, but we didn't see Jacob Cowing after that. So, a guy who Kyle Shanahan said had the best camp out of everybody on the team as far as being prepared, as far as improving. Jacob Cowing was like set to have a pretty good start to training camp, really get into it, and just unfortunately a setback for him because guys like his age, second year guys, need those reps. And the reps that he got with Brock Purdy in Florida, I think were really valuable. He and Ricky Pearsall went to Florida. They worked out with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's quarterback coach is out there. And that's how Brock Purdy and Mac Jones have kind of started their friendship. They both go to the same quarterback coach. And there's a video I posted of Mac Jones just kind of throwing the ball at Tight Ends University. And I think, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 comments are, what's up with his footwork? That's why he went to Florida. So yes, he's working on it. And that's just casual throwing back and forth, as guys are in short range. But Mac Jones was telling me that he would throw with his front leg out. So what you need to do is step into your throw so you get the full torque of your body, and then you're using your core and the rest of your body to get velocity on the throw. So Mac Jones is working on that. And I think similar to Sam Darnold and, guys that have been with Kyle Shanahan in his system, he's going to get better. I think he's going to improve, and, we'll see how it goes. But as far as practice goes, Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams, who did not participate in team drills on day 1, did participate in team drills on day 2. So there was sparing reps for George Kittle and Nick Bosa, but everybody outside of Jacob Cowing was on the field except for, the guys that are on PUP or on NFI. Those guys were not out there, but everybody else was out there and participating in practice, and that includes Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings ran a route past us at one point, and he was, jawing up with the defensive backs. It's been kind of a fun, energetic training camp so far. I think it'll really get spicy when pads go on. Now, pads go on Monday, so this was day 2. It was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday they have off. That is an off day. Sunday, they'll come back. That is a non-padded practice. They have to have 4 non-padded practices before they can put on the pads. Monday, pads go on, and it is business. So there's already been some kind of yapping back and forth. Fred Warner, of course, is always going to yap back and forth. Normally, his focus is on Brandon Ayuk, not as much this year because he's on the sidelines. They're still kind of chirping at each other, but I've noticed Demarcus Robinson being very vocal with guys like Jason Pinnock and some of the older veteran defensive backs. So that'll be kind of fun to watch. So today's practice, lots of reps for Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. We also spoke to D. Winters after practice, who is really excited to have Fred Warner as a mentor and for him to be able to get a chance to compete. He understands that Nick Martin was brought in to also compete at that spot. And he's like, hey, I like the competition. But Robert Saleh spoke and he said, hey, D. Winters is a guy who's really made some steps forward. He's been great. Fred Warner has his support. And D. Winters said, hey, I love having Fred Warner have my back. And so I think he's going to be a good player. He dealt with some injuries last year, which always sets a guy back. He had some neck injuries. There was one post-game presser where I asked him a question and he couldn't turn his head to look at me. He had to turn his whole body. And so he's like, did you get that on camera? I'm like, no, I didn't. So this is how you make sure you have good relationships with the players that you're covering. Now it doesn't matter as much, but at the time his neck was really bad and he couldn't turn his head. But he looked fine on camera. Anyway, so yeah, I think D. Winters is a guy who, and there's so many different things you can tell by how practice is shaping up. So during minicamp, Fred Warner is always, not doing special teams drills and talking to Johnny Holland. Before, it was Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw kind of talking to Johnny Holland, and they'd be tossing the ball back and forth. They do the juggling, all that stuff that we always post on social media. During minicamp, it was Fred Warner and D. Winters. Nick Martin obviously needs to get as many reps as he can. He's still going to compete, but D. Winters interception day 1 of training camp. And it was, Jason Pinnock got an interception on day 1 as well, kind of a lame duck ball. We don't know who tipped the pass, but it was fluttering in the air. Jason Pinnock ran up and scooped it up, got an interception. D. Winters, though, I asked him about the interception, and I'm like, what did you see? Break it down. Tell us what happened. And he said he saw the route in minicamp, and he said, if I see that again, he missed it on the first one. This is a good sign. He saw it again, remembered, cut the route, and got the interception. So, I think that's a good sign. Fred Warner says he's ready to take the next step, and I think Robert Saleh believes so as well. I think the most, we love talking to Trent Williams. Trent Williams spoke today and he talked about Michael Williams, and he's like, Cam Inman asked him, hey, what do you think of Michael Williams? He's like, he's like, that dude is big man. Interestingly, I don't know if y'all know this, but Trent Williams owns a Gulfstream. He apparently, I just read Eric Branch's article on it. He bought it for $3 million and ended up getting a $2 million write-off on it. If you have that much money, if you buy something like that, it can be a tax write-off because it's a vehicle that weighs over so much weight, which can be used towards your business. Same thing with big cars. If you've got a small business, look into getting a larger SUV, you can use it as a tax write-off. So Trent Williams did that, and I had no idea that players would just randomly ask him if they could borrow his jet. Apparently, Michael Williams reached out to him and said, hey, can I borrow your plane? I'm going to Cabo. And Trent Williams was like, actually, we're going there also. So he's like, we'll give you a ride. So Michael Williams went over to Trent Williams' house, and they kind of chopped it up. They got to know each other, and then they all went to Cabo together. I don't know if they stayed in the same place, but can you imagine being on a private jet with Trent Williams and his family and Michael Williams and whoever he went to Cabo with? That had to be an interesting ride. So anyways, they're already friends. When I asked Michael Williams at rookie minicamp, I said, hey, do you know Nick Bosa talks to Trent Williams all the time. They give each other tips. They work on their game. They work on their technique together. Have you ever done that? And he said, no. But I was like, are you looking to do that? He's like, absolutely. Trent Williams is one of the best in the game. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I want to learn as much as I can. And so, yes, that is a resource I'm going to take advantage of. So it's already starting. Michael Williams and Trent Williams have bonded already. And he's going to learn from him just like Nick Bosa does. And I think Michael Williams wants to be as good. He's got goals. And so learning from Trent Williams is one of the best things. Learning from Nick Bosa is another thing as well. I think Grant Cohn asked Trent Williams, who does Michael Williams remind you of? And he said, body style, kind of a young DeForest Buckner, but he's a little leaner. I mean, DeForest Buckner was, thicker, maybe like waist down. They're both about the same. Trent Williams said, the thing about blocking Michael Williams is that his arms are basically as long as your legs. He's like, it sucks trying to block in base downs on the outside when a guy's got arms as long as your legs because he can get around and move. So he thinks he's got everything it takes, all the tools to be an all-pro. And for Trent Williams to say that a young guy has the potential to be an all-pro and be a real dominant player in the league, I believe him. Trent Williams worked with Danielle Hunter quite a bit and thought he was going to be a really great pass rusher. And Danielle Hunter is a really good pass rusher. So I trust Trent Williams' judgment after 16 years in the league. Good judgment, I think. Hello, everybody who's joined in. Yeah, it's been a fun 2 days. Kyle Shanahan hates practices without pads. He says he can't wait for them to get them on. That's Monday. He just feels like they're not protected. They're not, and I don't know if you guys know, but I was previously a professional wrestler. And anytime you're doing stuff half speed, it's just not as safe. When you do things full speed and you know where you're going, I think when you try to take a little bit of velocity off, that's when people end up hurting themselves. So I think that, once they get pads on and then they get their full speed going, I think it's great. What's the scoop on Bryant Young? Bryant Young was at practice today. So was Patrick Willis. They were all watching. I saw them from afar. I didn't have a chance to say hi because we had to go in and talk to Robert Saleh really quickly after practice. So I do know they were there at practice. This is something that did not happen with Jim Harbaugh and Jim Tomsula and Chip Kelly. There were no 49ers alumni around. And I've got to say, a lot of it has to do with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch being legacy NFLers. John Lynch, having so much experience as a player. Kyle Shanahan having so much experience with his dad being in the league and being, involved with the NFL since the beginning of time. They know how important it is to have the guys who have done it come back and talk to the players that are in it now. And I think as much as Jed York was young and when Levi's opened, I think it was all about, the new era and we're not going to hang banners until they're championship banners. I think since John and Kyle have come into the building, Jed York has really grounded himself and really matured and understands how the culture and the legacy of the 49ers is so important for what's happening now. And you see it with guys coming around with alumni day, with, Patrick Willis having, those guys can come around at any time. Navarro Bowman has stopped in. Now that he's a coach, he's not. But you see guys like Steve Young and Alex Smith coming around and, a lot of, especially Patrick Willis and Bryant Young. And you've got alumni on the staff. Jesse Zapolu's around all the time. Keena Turner. I mean, these guys are legends. These guys are what built the 49ers into what they are. And so for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to kind of promote that, I think Jed York originally wanted to be his thing. And you get that, right? Like, if your parents did something and you wanted to take over the business, you want it to be your thing. You want to have your footprint, your fingerprints on it. And so I think that's what Jed York wanted at the beginning. And I've got to say, and I'm not trying to be a homer at all, but you see how he's matured and how now he understands that you really need to embrace the history of the franchise. And so he's done that. And you see all of these guys feel comfortable at being around, and they're around the facility whenever they want. They have carte blanche. They can come in and they can be around. Yes, Jerry Rice is around all the time. Joe Montana, not as much. Joe Montana's prickly sometimes. But Alex Smith, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, all the defensive guys, those guys love being around. And I think the players really benefit from being around the guys that really change the franchise. And it sucks that Dwight Clark went through ALS and isn't around, because he would want to be around. So, yeah, it's a really nice change from what it was like before with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan being there. And while, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan do such a great job at all the other stuff, they also bring in the alumni and understand the connection. Like the fact that they wear the whites, the 95 whites, I mean, that's Kyle Shanahan, because those were his favorite uniforms. So the throwbacks are the white uniforms. And I know a lot of fans love the black jerseys. Not a huge fan. First of all, I couldn't read the names from the press box, so logistically difficult for me. But the whites are classic. They're part of the history of the team, and so I love it. All right, so getting back to practice today, saw Upton Stout with the first team at nickel today. So I asked Robert Saleh about it, and he said he's excited about where he is. He thinks he's going to be a great player. Let me pull up the quote. But I was watching it, and so you've got Renardo Green and Deometer Lenore at outside corners, and then you have Upton Stout at nickel. So I did ask him about that, and let's see if I can pull up that. But Robert Saleh, it's just it's like old times. Okay, here we go. This is what Robert Saleh said about Upton Stout. He's done a great job with it. He's a cool little player, and I'm excited. And he is sort of like, you see him out there, and he does look smaller. But it's funny that Robert Saleh said he's a cool little player. I'm excited for him to get pads on. Again, with all these rookies and all these new guys, I'm trying to reserve true judgment until we get pads on. It's easy to go in there when you know you're not going to get blown up. It's been pretty impressive with what he's been able to handle through OTAs in the first couple of days here. So playing nickel as a rookie, it's tough. Nickel's not an easy job. You have to read what the motions are. You have to read whether it's going to be a run, whether it's going to be a pass. Are you going to cover? Are you going to run block? Are you going to blitz? So for Upton Stout to be already getting first team reps at nickel, I think is impressive. And obviously Robert Saleh is impressed with him too. So that was an interesting kind of twist that we saw today. The best pass of the day was Mac Jones to Isaiah Nair. And now Isaiah Nair is an undrafted free agent. He has his physique is similar, not quite as big, but tall, lanky, fast, super muscular. I would say he's like DK Metcalf-ish, not quite as huge, but he's fast. And he saw the 49ers being a really great opportunity for him to kind of, be around great quarterbacks. But it was a 35-yard pass, and there were 4 defensive backs in the vicinity. It was a really good one. So I think that was one of my best passes of the day. That one to Isaiah Nair. Now he's tall, he's fast, he's lanky. And let's see, George Kittle had some great passes today, catches today. Yeah, it was a good practice there. Like Brock Purdy would take 4 reps at a time. Mac Jones would take 4, and then Tanner Mordecai. So yes, this was it. It was about a 45-yard pass to Isaiah Nair. Jason Pinnock was in coverage along with a couple other guys. 45-yard pass. Luckily today for the fans, they actually got to see practice. So they used the field in front of the fans today, in front of the stands, which was much better than yesterday, where if you were at the first day of training camp practice, I'm sorry, you did not see anything. If you are coming to training camp practice, bring your binoculars, because sometimes they practice really far away. I would, if it was me, I would bring binoculars to camp. Let's see. Tell Jerry to take Nair under his wing. I mean, maybe. Um, let's see. You're welcome for all the daily updates. I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. Saw Christian McCaffrey run today, also catch some screen passes. Same thing with Isaac Guerrero. Isaac Guerrero's been out there. The key with Isaac Guerrero is for him not to hurt his hamstring. So I would think after a full year being with the 49ers and working with the training staff that he's going to be better at recovery and should stay healthy. He hurt his hamstring last year, huge setback during, I think it was training camp. It was either training camp. It happened literally right in front of me. He ran a route and he caught the pass, came up lame, and then he was down, and trainers came over and worked on it, and then he didn't practice for like a couple weeks. Literally happened right in front of me. I'm like, ugh, not good. Wolf 77, you'll be at camp on 8-4. Bring your binoculars, because they're going to alternate what field they're on and which direction they're going, because they don't want to wear out the grass. So they could be practicing right in front of you. They could be practicing kind of further away. So definitely bring those. What else happened today? The starting lineup on defensive line was Michael Williams, Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens, and Nick Bosa. That was just the starting lineup, kind of for some of the base downs. I also saw second team Michael Williams out there again. Some of the younger guys. Did see some of CJ West out there. He was mostly with second team. Let's see. Yep, he was out there. But I think the big thing that really stood out to me was Stout being out there with first team. So any intel on Christian Wilkins being a possibility? I don't know what happened there. That is crazy. Christian Wilkins had a huge contract and he only played a year and a little bit of it. And now he was released by the Raiders. I don't know what the story is there, but the Niners are not going to pay a ton of money. So if it's less expensive and they feel like he's a guy that could bring something to the team, potentially, but you got to look at how this team is built. It is built with all of the money in guys like George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams. They're not going to spend a lot of money on any other position on the offensive line outside of Trent Williams. So yeah, exactly, David. It's too expensive to get him. As much as he could be, someone that could contribute, there's something going on with his foot. There's an injury. I don't know the details on it. I'm not going to speak on it because I really don't know the details. But I just don't think the 49ers are going to spend a lot of money on an offensive lineman when they have so much money tied up in other places. And when you look at how the 49ers play with Christian McCaffrey healthy, the offensive line doesn't have to do as much. When Christian McCaffrey's on the field healthy, this is the key. The offensive line doesn't have to be elite. They have to be good. They have to be mobile, but they don't have to be elite across the board. They have to do their job. They set it up so that they are successful. When Christian McCaffrey is not on the field, we saw it last year. It's not great. They have to protect longer. So hopefully this year, there's no PTSD of Brock Purdy having to run around the backfield and extend plays as much as he did last year, because Christian McCaffrey will be healthy. I posted a couple of videos of him. He looks good. He also looks bigger. And I know everybody looks bigger at training camp. Now I'll tell you why. They all work out and bulk up during the offseason. I remember being next to Steve Weish, NFL Network guy. Richard Sherman came over to say hi, and Steve Weish was like, dude, you look big. He's like, did you put on some weight? He's like, I always put on weight during the offseason because they're not running as much. So generally guys come in. I had my cousin ask me if Nick Bosa is bigger. I'm like, well, he's always bigger at training camp. Fred Warner's arms looks huge too. I mean, he looks jacked, but it's because they work out so hard during the offseason, and they're not that they're not conditioning, but they're not playing full games. So what a guy looks like muscularly at the beginning of the season is very different than what they look like, especially after the playoffs. Richard Sherman, obviously running, especially DBs, linebackers. Those guys are running every single play, so they're going to lose some muscle bulk as they go through the season. They're still going to obviously be muscular, but they're going to lose it because they're running so much. So that's how the NFL body kind of shifts over a season. Let's see, Niners should sign Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is a guy that's out there. They did sign two guys that were less expensive. And I think, we saw a little bit of Equinemius St. Brown. He was out there. And then the other guy was also out there as well. And I don't have the list with me. Why? But yeah, Cephas was out there today as well. I just don't think they're going to spend a lot of money. If Amari Cooper wants to come to the 49ers for a minimal amount of money, then I'm sure they would be interested in taking him. But I don't think he is. So also, anyone that gets picked up by the 49ers knows that Brandon Ayuk is going to come back. Juwan Jennings is going to get some sort of deal going. So it's not like they're going to be in desperate need. Ricky Pearsall should be back. Jacob Cowing should be back. So I think guys take a look at what the roster looks like. And if there's a definite hole, then yes, they'll sign with that team because they, generally guys all want to be wide receiver one. So I don't know if Amari Cooper if it's attractive enough for him to go. Hello, Cynthia. Let's see, Roy's Place. It's an injury that the Raiders think he needs another surgery, and they dropped him, and he's headed to the courts. Yeah, I don't think the 49ers want to get messed up in that. Right? No. What else happened today? Just kind of fun to see the guys out there. There's not a huge community corner like there has been in the past. There's one set of bleachers at the end where fans are sitting. I saw, quite a few people there. Not as busy as it was before. So I think that they won't be. I know in the past they've pulled fans out of the stands to get them closer to the action. I definitely don't think that's going to happen now. I think there's, a kind of a distance, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do setup wise. We didn't see any kicks today, by the way. Yesterday, I know everybody's like, what's going to happen with the kickers? Greg Joseph versus Jake Moody, and each of them made all 4 kicks. So we'll kind of, keep an eye on what's happening. Nick Bosa's like, yeah, I've been watching. Nick Bosa never watches special teams, but he's watching now because there's a kicker competition. I thought that was hilarious. Everybody in the auditorium laughed. And he was on the alternative uniform they're supposed to wear this year. No, I haven't heard anything yet. They always keep that stuff kind of, on the DL. They don't tell us that stuff. They don't tell us a whole lot of stuff. Let's see. First team, Brock Purdy's first series, Christian McCaffrey run, George Kittle reception, Isaac Rendo run, Christian McCaffrey run. So, that's typical. Mac Jones scrambled. Patrick Taylor ran. You got to see a lot of him. The rookie, we saw a bit of him. Passes to Demarcus Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Taylor. And again, if you're just joining me, the best pass of the day was a deep pass from Mac Jones to Isaiah Nair, the rookie who really is like a little bit, maybe 10 pounds lighter than DK Metcalf, but long and fast and just pretty jacked. And that was the biggest cheer from the crowd in attendance today. Let's see. We saw a forced fumble, and I didn't see who got it. It was number 49 who was carrying the ball. Russell Gage Jr. caught a pass. George Kittle again. George Kittle he's going to have another 1,000-yard season. I'm just going to call it now. If you are going to Vegas, you can bet on George Kittle having another 1,000-yard season. He and Brock Purdy, since Brock Purdy bought a house in Nashville, they've been working out together down there. And Brock Purdy threw to all the tight ends that are hanging out at George Kittle's facility, which has a full, I don't know how big the field is, but it has a field in the back. It's got a huge workout facility. He's got everything, all the recovery, from red light to cold plunge to everything. George Kittle has set up his facility so that people want to hang out there. He doesn't like working out by himself, so he wants people to go. It's got a locker room feel. That's what he likes to have all year round. So that's what he's done. Do you feel some of the rookies could sign immediately, could immediately start and be an impact for the Niners? Yes. All right, so the rookies who I definitely think will be out there making impact, Michael Williams, for one. Trent Williams already has given him glowing reviews, and they've only practiced against each other a few times. And if you are just signing on, Michael Williams asked Trent Williams if he could borrow his plane. They ended up going to Cabo together on the same jet on Trent Williams' Gulfstream. The player life. I will never know what that's like. Maybe you guys will. If you do, invite me on your private jet. So Michael Williams, I think, definitely will make an impact. I think CJ West will be a rotational player for sure, as will Alfred Collins. I think those three defensive linemen will definitely be out there, if not all the time on every down. I don't think they're going to be down there every down like some of the other guys, but they will be out there on a rotational basis. And Robert Saleh spoke about this, and I thought it was interesting, where he's like, you've got the veteran guys who don't make mistakes. They might have an off play, but generally they don't make mistakes. Then you've got but they get a little bit slower because they're a little bit older. The young guys are faster and more explosive, but they make a lot of mistakes. So it's trying to get the young guys to make the least amount of mistakes as quickly as possible, along with your veterans who don't make mistakes. So getting those guys in there is important. So yeah, we did see Michael Williams come on the inside. I think he's going to be Michael Williams, if he stays healthy and takes all the coaching from Chris Kasarik and follows everything Nick Bosa does. I think he's going to be a menace. I mean, it looks like his presence. He does have that DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead like size. Might not be quite as thick, but he is a big dude. And then Alfred Collins is also the same height, but 50 pounds heavier. Honestly, what's funny to me is when I was like, Alfred Collins is ginormous. He's a huge dude. And then we go out to practice. I'm like, oh, he looks like the rest of the guys. He looks as big as Alfred Collins and Michael Williams. They were just as tall as each other. Also, I think Jordan Elliott is also sizable, and he looks bigger this year. And again, it might be a guy who's just gotten bigger over the offseason. He looks more broad. Bryce Huff is like a fire plug. This defensive line is beefy. And so while the secondary is a little bit more questionable, now Renardo Green, Deommodore Lenoir, I think those guys are locks. Nickel position is going to be a little questionable. Safety position, Jason Pinnock is good. Jair Brown has had his ups and downs. I think they're banking on this defensive line to get after quarterbacks. The quicker the defensive line can get after quarterbacks, the less the secondary has to cover. Obviously, you have an all-pro in Fred Warner, who's going to play behind it. Next to him could be D. Winters, who's the third. So there are some spots that need some help in the secondary. I think what their goal was, knowing that the secondary is kind of in flux with Malik Mustafa being out, Jair Brown having ups and downs, I think they're banking on really kind of like 2019, the defensive line doing most of the work. And if the defensive line can get home, the secondary doesn't have to cover as long, and it makes it much easier for them. You can make your secondary look fantastic if the pass rush is getting at the quarterback. So any other questions before I shut this down for the evening? I got to go to bed and get up in the morning and get back up to Santa Clara. The secondary isn't that bad. They're just young and inexperienced. Now, Deommodore Lenoir is fantastic. Of course, Deommodore Lenoir dropped George Kittle yesterday, and George Kittle had a 50-yard reception that would have been a touchdown. Can't do that. But that was on the first play. Renardo Green is great. And as long as he doesn't go through a sophomore slump and he sticks with it, I think he'll be fine. Renardo Green is a guy, when I spoke to him last year, he's like, I've been playing football since I was 5. He's very serious. So I don't think he's a guy that's going to like blow off practice and studying to, do whatever. I think he's very serious about playing football. So I don't think that's going to happen. No Malik Mustafa for a while, and he was the best safety last year. Jason Pinnock is good, but it's a new system. I think he'll be great, though. He's a guy that I think the 49ers like a lot. Jair Brown, though, has had his ups and downs. Upton Stout at nickel. He's a rookie. That's a big job for a rookie. So with those young guys coming in and, deciding who they're going to have out there as their starters, it's kind of in flux. They're not a bad secondary. It's just in flux. And the sun's going down, so it's getting dark here. This is why I need to turn it off. I can shut it down a little bit. So, yeah, I think it's, the pass rush has to get home. So then they're not relying on the secondary that's young and new. So that's my opinion on what their defensive philosophy is this year. Mustafa's been out there. I haven't seen him running, but he is out there after he works with the trainers to be with the team while they're going through team drills. So I have seen him out there. We need to get stronger at corner position teams. Will truly get upfield. It's just everybody's got to work in union. Coverage and rush always together. All right, everybody. I'll do another live sometime this week. I don't know. Do you guys like the lives better than the standalone videos? Let me know. All right. Watch the shorts. I'm going to upload a bunch of shorts, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Hope you guys are well. See you soon. Bye.